always tried to have a good attitude. It makes your whole day better. It makes your life better. It does make people want to be around you.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the We're Not Stumped podcast. I'm your host, Mike Bolland, and today I welcome two people onto the podcast. How exciting. This is going to be fun. We've been just having fun for the last 5 minutes, just getting to know each other. That's Linda Moore and Deidre Murphy. Linda's life changed after multiple attempts to fix her kneecap, and that produced an infection that changed her life. But this life-changing event required physical therapy, and that's where Deidre comes in. Well, first of all, both of you, thank you so much for being on the We're Not Stumped podcast. I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. I'm very curious to learn more, and I really like having both of you on here because the story is it's going to be one of from two different perspectives, and that's what I'm really excited about today. We always start the podcast with a segment I call "In Your Own Words." So we'll start with you, Linda. Can you tell the audience a little bit more about you?
Yeah. I'm from Southern Illinois. Worked in the automotive industry, which was a good thing because it gave me a good, strong core. Right, Deidre?
Yes.
And due to the failed knee surgeries, I had to have my leg amputated way above the knee. And it's been going wonderful. I mean, it's not something I would have signed up for, but um, it's worked out okay. And I just want to help people in the same situation. I just want to help people. God give me such an attitude that, everything I try to be positive. I try to stay with positive people, or help negative people become positive people. And I love laughter, don't I, Deeds?
Yes.
And by the way, Deidre goes by Dees. I learned that. So if you hear Linda call her that, that's why. She knows it better than I do. But Deidre, I'd love to hear your story too and how you got into this profession and everything about you.
I always say that physical therapy found me. I went back to college a little bit later in my life, and it changed my life. I realized what a wonderful thing it is to just help other people. That's how you fix the world. That's how you fix things you don't like about your life, and that's all you can do is help others. And that's just what I want to do forever. And I learn from the patients. That's another wonderful thing about my job. I learn from them.
Yeah, and I guess Linda is one of those patients that we could all learn a little bit from. Now, Linda, I do want to ask you a question though, because
Yeah.
I think I read this with Tim. By the way, he was in the background. He gave me the information from osfhealthcare.org, and I really appreciate him taking the time to get us together. By the way, I wanted to ask you a question about what led to your injury. Was it overuse or too much standing while you were working in the
Well,
automotive
yeah,
industry?
a lot of standing on concrete and climbing up and down on steel tables and lifting heavy parts and
All that kind of comes into play.
yeah.
So you attempted to get it fixed. I think both knees though, right? Or
I
both of
had
your
both knees replaced in 2014. Um, the left knee had to be done again in 2015 because of a faulty kneecap. The right one did just fine. In 2019, I fell on my knee on a real thick wood deck and busted the kneecap part pretty bad, but it didn't bother me. It looked, it was a great conversation piece, actually, but everybody'd be like, ew, ew. I said, well, it didn't bother me. So, uh,
well, then what prompted you to get it checked out? If it
well, it started bothering me the first part of last year in 2024. My kneecap started popping off to the side. And I ended up in the emergency room the first time because I couldn't put any weight on it whatsoever. But then after the emergency room, stepping back into my apartment that night, I realized if I straighten my leg all the way, it'll pop back. So for about 8 months, I went there, popping it in. It popped out. I'd pop it back in. got to be pretty bad, sometimes 20 times a night, even while I was sleeping. Mm. But yeah, it was wore out.
The
And
kneecap.
so I went to an orthopedic surgeon and he decided to try to fix my kneecap, so replace it.
And when that happened, that was when the infection started?
Well, an attempt at fixing it uh, 4 times, 3 times, 4 times in a very short period of time uh, led to a cellulitis infection, which was pretty bad. It sort of looked like my leg was dying.
Oh, wow.
So he came and talked to me, and he talked to a friend of mine, and he just told me, he said, "My death to you, because the kneecap's ever going to stay. It what would pop out the morning after or 2 days after each surgery, and causing me a lot of pain." But through him telling me that, you probably need to get your leg amputated, and then you can think about a prosthetic and you could be able to walk again. Otherwise, you're probably going to be crippled up for the rest of your life.
That's still a decision you had to make, though, I mean, right? And that was
Well, it was a decision I should have thought a little bit more about, but I was in and out of hospitals, in and out of rehab centers, and I was just tired. I was tired. And so I thought about it for a couple of days and I gave him the go ahead. So he introduced me to the vascular doctor that did it. Young man. I said, "Are you sure you're not a serial killer that collects legs?"
sounds like a good Netflix special right there. So you have the amputation, and I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit because I do wanna hear from your prosthetic journey and things like that, but I think is that Deidre, is that where you start to get introduced and try to work with Linda on certain exercises and things that like that?
Yeah, so she came to our rehab facility, where we do 3 hours every day, and that gets split between PT and OT. So I do the PT side where our focus is learning how to transfer, standing, walking if we can. It can include climbing stairs if we need to do that. All are can be very difficult with one leg. Um, and some of the exercises we work on, we're working on preparing the residual limb for the future prosthesis. So there's positioning you need to think about. You want to prevent the hip from staying flexed all the time. Um, so you do some stretching, some exercises to help keep the residual limb where it will be um, in a good position for getting the prosthesis and starting that, process. Um, so yeah, that's where, me and Linda started. It was late. She was my last patient on a Friday afternoon, and we got in the parallel bars, and we kicked butt, and we laughed and had fun together, and I just knew it was the start of a great friendship.
Oh, that's great. You know, it's interesting, and I'm gonna jump ahead because I wanna ask this question a little later, but I might as well ask it right now. I have a quote from the article that is on the osfhealthcare.org website, and by the way, more information, a ton of information is available on that website. I recommend everyone going to that website, but I'm gonna read a quote from you, Linda. It says, "Attitude is everything. If you have a bad attitude, you're gonna have a bad recovery. If you have a good attitude, people wanna be around you and help you," and I think there's an example right there, "and it makes your day a whole lot easier." What does it mean for you to have a good attitude in life in general, and certainly as one as an amputee?
Always tried to have a good attitude. It makes your whole day better. It makes your life better. It does make people want to be around you. I've always valued having close relationships and people. Like, I am a people person and I just want to help. I want to help everybody. But the thing with OSF therapy, I just told them one day, I said, my family's mostly moved back to Southern Illinois now, which they did come for my surgery. And, but I told Deidre one day, I said, you know what? I said, I feel with my family being so far away, I feel like home and you all are my family. So that's what sparked a lot in both of us.
Yeah, it must have, because Deidre was probably ready to go to happy hour on a Friday, and she stayed a little later with you, on those parallel it looks like I hit a nerve there. Of course, I'm kidding, you know, and that's what I would be doing. I'll put it that way. So, what do you see, Deidre, though, when it comes to patients that you work with, and the attitude, and what difference that makes in the recovery and during the whole therapy that they go through?
The positive attitude makes a huge difference, and that can be hard to have. You're going through, your body has changed, drastically, and that can be difficult to deal with just psychologically, and so if you can just keep the positive attitude, that helps just, overcome a lot of the, what should I how do I put it?
Based of maybe the negative thoughts it may creep?
Anxiety.
Absolutely. Um, it's the beginning of your coping. Yes, absolutely. It's the beginning of coping with what has happened. And so just she brought her positive attitude every single day. I rarely saw her get, feel defeated. So she just started out with on the right foot, so to
I knew
speak.
I knew you were gonna say that. I was hoping you were gonna throw that next.
Come out. Why did it come out? I don't.
Well, Linda, when you think about your positive attitude, what is your secret? You said you've always been that way. Is that, something from childhood, your life?
It's not really a secret because I tell everybody it's God.
Okay.
God has given me the ability to not sweat the small stuff, take life with a good attitude and positivity, and you can overcome anything.
Well, I know you're gonna be dancing again. We're gonna talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I wanted to ask, because I think from your perspective, I see this, but I want to ask this to Deidre. What is it like? How important is self advocacy? Meaning that, hey, if there's a patient that's going through something, their ability to communicate and tell someone like you, I would imagine, is extremely important. How important is that?
Just as far as what they're dealing with, like, mentally,
Everything physically, yeah.
so I wrote a few things down to just help me remember what to answer to that question. So, a lot of it is just coping strategies and, just, learning how to adapt to this new way of life. So I'm sorry here.
No, I mean, I think you're saying it. I mean, when you think about it, that's something I didn't have to go through. I'll be honest with you, but I'm sure my parents had to go through some things suddenly I have one hand and they didn't know about it because it wasn't ultrasounds back then. But, people losing limbs, I've had people on the podcast say it's like losing a loved one. So it's definitely a major life event. So I can see where you're coming from.
What we want to do here, and on the rehab unit is just, remind the patients that there's hope. You can adapt to your situation. You have the potential. There's been significant advancements in prosthetic limbs and how they can make your quality of life better. And changes to surgery and even rehabilitation techniques um, all have amazing advancements. Also, just help the patients remember, just believe in yourself. We believe in you. You're not alone. We're going to go through this together and we can get through the uncertainties together. We're here to support each other and cheer each other on. So you're not alone, is what I would say.
I never felt alone the whole time I was there.
Well,
Never.
that's fantastic, because that is something, another common thread I hear from the limb loss community. And some of it has to do with you go out in public for the first time and you're probably going to be the only one like you as you go out in public. I know I am, and it's fine. I mean, with my life, I'm good with it. But other limb loss amputees, they have to go through that alone part. Is there with Linda, with when it doesn't sound like you had any of these issues, but when you go out, do you have anything, any secrets? Anybody, when somebody asks questions, how do you react?
I make jokes about it sometimes. I've always been a jokester anyway, but I live in assisted living right now, and they've been great. They've only had to pick me up out of the floor about 3 or 4 times, but I never got hurt. I learned to slither down like the Pink Panther.
Well, I had to be picked up a few times myself recently, but we're not going to get into that story. It's other things we need to talk. And I want to say that we're on with OSF Healthcare, and again, thank you to Tim Dittman for getting us together today because this is a fantastic story. Now I know,
It's
Linda,
a
you're going.
man.
Yeah, yeah, he was definitely great to work with. As getting to know both of you, you're going through your prosthetic journey now. I think you're kind of early on in it.
2 weeks ago, I went and got fitted, and now I'm wearing, the shrinker that shakes up your stub, and, I go tomorrow for another measurement, and they've told me I should have my prosthetic by the end of,
Oh, yay.
That's fantastic. That's
and I will dance through them doors, Deeds.
I can't wait. I'm dancing with you.
Alright. That's what I want.
how important is it to set goals? Because that's a goal, and I read that with the great information that Tim sent over. Your
Very.
goal to dance again.
Yeah. I used
How
to go out dancing all the time, and, then when I got a little bit older and had, bad knees and stuff, I became a really good chair dancer, and, which I proved just the other day. Because guess what, Deeds? I'm the Valentine queen.
I saw that. I saw you have a sash and everything. It's official. I love it.
Yeah, we had fun. We he's in a chair also, and we did our little thing. The head of the nurse of the, facility said, "You guys rehearsed that." I said, "No, we didn't. We had a good time."
Linda, is there anything surprising to you going through the prosthetic journey? Things you didn't know going in, it's like, "Oh, okay," that maybe other people that are early in their own journey may wanna hear.
That a good pair of shoes is important for their good foot and your funny foot, whatever you wanna call it, but yeah, your prosthetic foot. Therapy will be needed also. Again, I picked Deeds, but I don't know if that works out for my insurance or not, but it did once.
Let's hope it continues to work out and you guys can continue to work together. Is that typical, Deidre, that people, as they get their prosthetic, they still need to go through the physical therapy and figuring out their gait and things like how does that process work?
Absolutely. So whenever the patient's starting the process to get their new limb, they get a consultation with the prosthetist first. And they're going to look at, are you ready for this? Are you healed? Is there any wounds, infections? We got to make sure all that is healed. Also, kind of looking at swelling. You want to make sure that's down. However, the swelling can kind of come and go a little bit. Um, they'll start talking to you about your lifestyle needs and personal goals. So for Linda, she wants to dance again. So that'll get you a real nice leg. The more active you are, the more advanced prosthetic you will get. But it can get real fancy if you are a sporty type of person.
Oh, yeah, I've seen a lot of Special Olympics and stuff.
Oh yes.
Um, Years.
Yes, most common, you don't see, the knee a lot, mostly just see the below knee. It's a pretty standard, just like it's got a peg mechanism. But so the knee for you, Linda, it'll be a lot fancier, so it might be a little more difficult learning to walk with that. Um, but I know you're gonna be able to do it.
No, I will.
And just a few things more about seeing the prosthetist. They do take, like you said, Linda, the measurements. They're going to look at where's the socket putting pressure on your limb, so it's not rubbing a sore, making a new wound. Once you get your final socket, that's when you start working on learning how to put it on, how to take care of it and clean it, and then learn how to walk with it and dance with it.
What is the typical, and this may differ from person to person, like typically, I don't know, a month after the amputation, some of these processes start, or maybe they start right away, but the prosthetic itself, is that a month or, hey, whenever the swelling goes down, then 2 weeks later? Can you walk me
It,
through that?
it varies with the surgeon and their sort of protocol. Some patients will get their shrinker while they're in the hospital, some don't. Um, I can't really speak to how long after an amputation. It really just varies. So Linda, for you, it'd be what? Let's see, like
November
5 months.
13th was my amputation,
Oh,
and they said I should have my prosthetic by the end of March.
all right. So yeah, like 4 or 5-ish months. So that's great. Actually, I think that's really good.
That's what I think, and anybody I talk to says, "Wow, that's pretty quick," and I'm, "Yeah, good."
Wonderful. You've had a good surgery as well, too. That's helped.
Oh, yeah.
Linda, is there something that you didn't know going in, as a person with two legs their whole life, and then suddenly just is down to the one? Being an
Well,
amputee, yeah, go ahead.
it's, uh it's weird looking in a mirror and that was part of my therapy. It's weird to see just one leg, but the way they put the mirror and told me to put my leg up against it, you see 2 legs again. It's it's awesome. That's what I'm gonna look like in a couple of months.
Is that a specific, I don't exercise is what's coming to mind, but I've heard other amputees go through something very similar where they put the mirror up to try to help the mind. Is it, I don't know if it's a Deidre question or Linda question, but just open it up.
That is what that's for, is to kinda trick your brain. It's used to help with relieving phantom pains, so those are very common, they can be difficult to deal with, and when the patient feels that phantom pain, you have them look at their reflection of their opposite leg in that mirror, and it tends to help calm that down.
No, that's a good exercise, and it's something I wanna share with you, Linda, because I do the same thing. Yeah, I'll be in front of a mirror, but the mirrored image of me is something I've seen my whole life as a person with one hand, so I don't think anything of it. But as soon as I see a picture of myself and it's reversed, the first thing I think to myself is, "That dude's got one hand." I think people notice that. You know what I mean? So, it's something that I think we all share, and it's still it's okay, we're all human, and we're all
Oh, yeah, like, there's one lady here that came up to me one day and she said, "Are you missing a leg?" I said, "I am. Do you know where I can find it?"
Yeah, I lost it somewhere. I don't know where that thing is. So again, I want to go back to the attitude, because I think it's something that's been, part of this conversation and part of the story that I read originally since the beginning. What would you say I already asked you the importance of it, but how hard would it be, you feel, for others to try to get to that place? Because that it's probably going to be a little bit difficult at first. And Deidre, I'll throw that out to you because you probably see a lot more patients first.
Yes, because, not everyone does have Linda's amazing, already positive attitude at all. And we did talk a little bit about losing a limb. It's like you're grieving, the loss. It's can be traumatic. So we always want to think about the psychological part of losing a limb. You, um, it's helpful to have coping strategies. That's easy to say and not easy to do, but things that can help, just think about self-care, having a routine, doing your therapy. Therapy exercise is always a stress reliever, and always feels good after you're done. It helps reduce anxiety as well, just exercising and moving. But also just being able to talk about your feelings, and not being ashamed to do that. Just talking to your friends and family, someone you feel comfortable with. And if needed, let's go see a psychiatrist. Let's maybe get medications on board and let's help you get through this.
Those are two excellent points that seem to come up a lot on the podcast, and which is thank you for bringing them up. And number one is exercise, mind, body, and soul. It certainly helps a lot. And then the mental health part. Hey, listen, at the end of the day, we're all human. We have our ups and downs. It doesn't matter whether you're missing a limb or not. And it's just the reality of life. So thank you for bringing those up. And Linda, through your own journey, again, it sounds like with your positive attitude, may not have been a few downs, but is there anything you'd like to say to someone who may be going through their own journey and how they can possibly navigate what you've already navigated?
Just remember that every day is a brand new day. You don't have the same issues the next day as you did the day before. Things change, hopefully for the better, and believe in God. Most
Mm.
definitely. Have faith.
Yeah, have faith. I love that. I just want to thank you both for taking the time to be on the We're Not Stumped podcast and wish you both nothing but the success as you move forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the We're Not Stumped podcast. I have an ask for everyone that got to this point of the podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe. The reason is simple. These stories need to be shared. It would help it to get out there to the people that really need to hear these stories.